Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is George and today I'm going to review the Malayalam movie Hridayam, directed by Vineeth Sreenivasan, starring Pranav Mohanlal, Kalyani Priyadarshan and Darshana Rajendran. Now for those who are not that familiar with Malayalam movies or would like to know a little more about the history behind certain movies or certain actors, I'm going to start with a segment called History and Legacy. For those who are familiar with and would like to skip ahead to the review, then check the timing in the description and feel free to move ahead. Now here we begin the first segment, History and Legacy. Okay, history and legacy. So let's start with the biggest name in the movie, Vineeth Sreenivasan. He started his career as a playback singer in the movie Kilichundan Mambalam, released in 2003, directed by Priyadarshan, starring Mohanlal. Now, since then he went on to sing in a quite number of movies and he was quite successful. He had a number of hits under his belt, and I believe it was in 2007 he acted in his first movie. It was Cycle, I believe, 2007. Yes, I believe it was 2007. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, of course. This is just off the top of my head, And he went on to act in a number of movies. Now here's the thing, as a playback singer, I believe he was more successful because he's got a great voice and he's got a great sense of music and he sings really well, Off the top of my head, I can think of at least 10 songs that are, that are big hits, that are quite a favorite of mine even, I would say. But when you come to his acting, it's not that he's good or bad, but it's more like it's always a decent performance, but there's nothing over there that make you look at it and say, wow, this is something memorable or this is something incredible. I'm going to remember this for the rest of my life or something like that. It's always decent, it's always acceptable, and that's how it went. But then in 2010, he directed a movie called Malarvadi Arts Club. That was his first movie. It was produced by the Malayalam actor Dilip, and the movie did well at the box office. Not enough to sort of make Vineeth Sreenivasan a big star or anything, but everyone took notice of it. It was a feel-good movie and coming-of-age movie. It was about a group of friends and Malarvadi Arts Club. They have a club and everything, and the actors Nivin Pauly and Aju Varghese were introduced in that movie. So that was the big thing about it. Vineeth Sreenivasan's debut movie as a director. It's also the debut movie of two big stars in Malayalam, that is Nivin Pauly and Aju Varghese. So again, it did well at the box office, but then he became a director wherein a movie that made him a big time director, household name, is Tattathin Marayathu, which came out in 2012, I believe. It had great songs, it was really funny. Again, it was sort of a feel good, funny, coming of age romantic comedy of sorts, and it did quite well. And so that's the history over there. So along the way, he did act in movies. He still went on to sing in a couple of movies. So he was carrying on his career as a playback singer and as an actor along with the director during this. And every 2 or 3 years he would direct one movie. Sometimes he would produce movies, sometimes he would script write it, but that's how he kept going. So what happened was that Vineeth Sreenivasan was able to create a brand for himself, and it's a brand that everyone trusted. It was able to gain the trust of the audience, because if I go into a Vineeth Sreenivasan movie, it's going to be worth my time. It's going to be worth the money I spend on the ticket. That's the brand he created for himself, and as well as the actors who worked with him. And I wouldn't say Nivin Pauly and Aju Varghese owe their career to him. Of course, they went on to do their own stuff as well. But the early stages, it began with Vineeth Sreenivasan. To this day, I believe they all are good friends, and they do occasionally star in each, movies or produce, or they work together. So there is that friendship over there, and you can see it in the movies as well. There is a certain quality to it. So Vineeth Sreenivasan went on to create a brand for himself. Now, coming to Hridayam, what's the big deal over here when it comes to Hridayam is that the last movie he directed was called Jacob in the Swarga Rajyam. Again, I believe it came out in 2015 or 2016. I'm not sure. So you can check it out yourself. What happened over here is that to me, as far as I'm concerned, that is my favorite Vineeth Sreenivasan movie. It's a feel good, again, it's a feel good entertainer. It's a family movie as well, and it's based off a true story. I believe it happened to one of his friends who's living in Dubai, and he actually used that story and worked it a little bit for cinema as well. But then that was a movie that came out, and I really enjoyed that movie. It's one of my favorites. And after that, he took a break of sorts, and he said, I'm going to, next movie I'll take some time before I do the next movie. And that break, which was meant for like 2-3 years, it went on to be a 5-year gap before he finally started with Hridayam. But when he started with Hridayam again, the pandemic happened, there was lockdown. So what happened again, the delays happened with the lockdowns and everything. But then he went on to somehow finish the project and then release it. So that's the history over there, a short history if you might call it. If you like to know more, of course there are lots of information out there. For me, as far as I'm concerned, as a movie lover, I notice these things about the actors. I'm sure all of us does at some point, and I thought I'll just share that over here. So that's Vineeth Sreenivasan, that's his legacy, that's his history over there. Now coming to his legacy, Vineeth Sreenivasan is the son of Malayalam's one of the most senior, most veteran actors and scriptwriters, Mr. Sreenivasan. Again, so I didn't want to start with his father, because obviously Vineeth Sreenivasan has achieved a lot on his own as well. So we don't want to take anything away. And of course, but coming to his legacy, there is a legacy definitely over there. Mr. Sreenivasan is again a very senior actor who's done over 200-300 movies in Malayalam. And but more than that, he's a scriptwriter, and by scriptwriter I mean he's done over 20-30 movies as a scriptwriter. And the biggest thing over there is that they have been blockbusters, they have been classics. I mean, if you go back and if you think, if someone who watches a lot of Malayalam movies, the history over there, what Mr. Sreenivasan has accomplished. So again, Vineeth Sreenivasan coming into the picture, he did his own thing. Again, Mr. Sreenivasan has only directed 2 movies to the best of my knowledge. That is, one is Vadakku Yandram, which translates into a compass. Vadakku means north, so that's what it means. It's a very interesting movie. I mean, I'm not going into it, that's a different story, right? And then the second one was Chindavishta Shamla. These are the 2 movies he's directed, but apart from that, he's actually written scripts of a lot of classics. And when I mean classics, they are loved even to this day. They are even watched, they are extremely funny. And again, something maybe Vineeth also drew a parallel from. Sreenivasan usually focused on family dramas with emphasis on comedy as well. That's how he played it. There was a mix of comedy and a little bit of drama. That's how he played it. And there was always a strong message over there as far as for the society, for a group of people, for family, for couples. There's always a message over there, and he did it quite well. There are, I'm not going into all of that because there's a long list of movies over there. And I watched most of them. I love them. I think they're incredible. So there is a history over there. But again, he's more of a scriptwriter and an actor than a movie director, and of course he's not a playback singer in any way. In fact, the interesting thing over there, Mr. Sreenivasan, the characters that he's taken, he's always plays the ugly or the bumbling sidekick. That's what he's done. And interestingly, he's done most of these movies with Mohanlal, where he plays that sidekick best friend, and their combination is great. They've done quite a number of movies together. Again, I'm babbling because I'm a big fan over here. So that's the legacy over there. Now coming to Mohanlal, or Mr. Pranav Mohanlal, who's the hero of this Hridayam. Pranav Mohanlal, I believe, acted in the movie Adi 2018. Now Adi was his first movie, and it's as an actor. I think before that he did a couple of movies as an assistant director. But to start things off, Adi did well at the box office. But if you were to watch that movie, you never, again, it's not something that you would remember for a couple of years, or you look back and say, oh, that movie was something spectacular, something special. It was a decent thriller, I would say, and it did well at the box office, but nothing, but it's not the kind of movie you come out and say, oh, Pranav Mohanlal is, incredible, became a star with that movie, It's not like Hrithik Roshan did Kahane Pyare. The movie came out, he instantly became a superstar overnight, So Adi was not like that for Pranav Mohanlal, in spite of doing well at the box office. The second movie he did, I think it was 21st Noottandu. It didn't do well at the box office, and so this third movie coming to Hridayam, he had, there was definitely a little bit of pressure over there to prove himself. And of course, he's the son of the legendary actor Mohanlal, who's probably the face of Malayalam cinema, along with the other big superstar of Malayalam, Mr. Mammootty as well. However, again, I digress. Now, So Pranav had something to prove over there. He definitely had to make a good movie. He definitely had to do something over there. And again, coming to his performance, I'll cover that in the review part. This is the history part, right? So so that's what Pranav Mohanlal was. He did, he did act in as a, I think as an artist. Well, he was a child. I think he did a movie called Onnaman. Again, it's a Mohanlal movie, and I believed he played the younger version of Mohanlal in that movie, like as a child or something like that. And I believe he also acted in one. I don't remember the name of it, but I believe he got the Kerala State Award for the child artist. This was again back early 2000s, mid 2000s, something like that, I believe. I just can't remember the name of the movie at the moment, but he did receive a Kerala State Award for Best Child Artist for that movie. So he did Onnaman as a child artist, and then the second movie, and then there was a little bit of break, and then he made a couple of movies as an assistant director, and then he started Adi 2018 and Hridayam Note, and I think 2019, and then he went on to do Hridayam now. Again, this is so. Now coming to the ladies, that is Kalyani Priyadarshan and Darshana Rajendran. Kalyani Priyadarshan, I believe she started her career in a Telugu movie. I'm not familiar with the name. I don't watch a lot of Telugu movies. I do watch occasionally, so I'm not familiar with the name. And I think she did a Tamil movie after that, Hero, with Shiva Karthikeyan. As far as Malayalam movies goes, I believe her first Malayalam movie was Varenne Avshamundu with Dulquer Salman. It came out in 2020. Here's the thing about Kalyani Priyadarshan. I believe she's, apart from being cute and everything, she genuinely can come on screen and be funny. That's something that I noticed with Varenne Avshamundu and with a few other movies I saw. So, that's Kalyani Priyadarshan over there. Obviously, with respect to legacy, she is the daughter of the legendary movie director Mr. Priyadarshan, and but of course she's established herself as an actress now, and she's doing quite well. She's also the daughter of the actress Lissy Priyadarshan. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that. Lissy Priyadarshan was quite a successful actress in the 80s. She's done a quite number of Malayalam movies. I believe she did other languages as well. I'm not that familiar with that, but she's done a quite number of Malayalam movies, and they were directed by Priyadarshan also. So mostly they were comedies, and she starred opposite Mohanlal, Mukesh. She's done a lot of movies over there, and she was quite successful. And then she went on to marry Mr. Priyadarshan, and they settled down, and she stopped acting for a while. So that's Kalyani Priyadarshan over there. And coming to Darshana Rajendran, she does not have, I believe she does not have any relative in the movie industry, so she's someone who came up on her own. I believe I noticed her first in the Malayalam movie called Vijay Suprum Paurnamiyum. If I'm wrong, please do share that in the comments below. That's where I noticed her. So she played side characters, supporting roles and things like that. But I think she really took off last year. I believe she did the movie Irul as the female lead over there. It was starring Fahad Fasil, and she was one of the characters. And she also did an anthology movie called Aanum Pennum. There were 3 stories in that, and one of the stories had her and I think that another actor called Roshan. So Darshana Rajendran sort of came up, I would say, in the last, although she was here and there, she did act in a couple of movies and she did play side characters. She really came up in the last year or so as a main actor, and even in Hridayam also, she Kalyani Priyadarshan also the main actor. Darshana Rajendran also has quite an important role over there. So that's the history and legacy as far as all are concerned. Now let's go into the review part. Okay, so to start things off, I'm going to keep the review spoiler free. Not that there are a lot of twists and turns in the story, but there are a few scenes we can talk about in detail and analyze. But before we go into that, let's keep it spoiler free, just to give you an idea about what this movie is about and what to expect. So to keep things simple, this is a story about a man from the age of 18 to his early 30s, and Pranav Mohanlal plays the protagonist, Arun Neelakandan. So a little side history on the other hand. Mohanlal back in the 90s played a character known as Neelakandan in his movie Devasuram. It was a big blockbuster, it's a big classic, and it's a favorite of mine as well. So in this movie, Pranav Mohanlal's character is named Arun Neelakandan. So, and I believe Aju Varghese character has a little joke in this movie. He makes a small reference to that because Mohanlal's character Neelakandan, his family name in the movie Devasuram was Mangalasheri Neelakandan. So in this movie, Aju Varghese's character, which is Jimmy, I believe, Jimmy asks him a question: "Is your family name Mangalasheri?" So it's a little side reference to Devasuram, that they make, and it's a little joke. It's nice, but yeah. So he plays the character Arun Neelakandan, and the movie starts with him moving to Chennai. He's going to his college, he's going for his engineering, he's starting his engineering degree and everything. So that's how the story begins, and ends at a point, into his early 30s. And so this story is basically about his growth, the things that happen to him, his encounter with certain realities, how he understands them, how it molds him, it shapes him into the man he becomes. And that's, in short, to keep things spoiler free, that's what the movie is about. And Vineeth Sreenivasan, like I said in the history and legacy section, his movies is always feel good entertainers. You can never like sit back and say that this is a bad movie in any sensible way, because it's a very good feel good entertainer. There are certainly a lot of relatable scenes with, especially from your college days or from your past, when you were a kid, when you were growing up and you were faced with certain difficulties. How did you deal with them? How did you react to the situations? So certainly there are a lot of parallels that you can draw from. You can even go back to, there's a lot of nostalgia that Vineeth Sreenivasan really introduces in this movie. And as a viewer, when you're watching itself, you can really look at these scenes and say that, wow, that's special, that's something there, something like this happened to me in the past. So that's really the strength of the movie, I believe. And Vineeth Sreenivasan, he's done a lot of feel-good entertainers, so I believe this is his, he specializes in it in some way, I would say. So, and he does it really well. This movie is very good. There are about 15 songs in the movie. Now, when I say 15 songs, don't worry, it's not all song and dance. Like, there's actually, I believe it's just one song, Darshana. You might have heard of that song. If you haven't, it's all over the internet. It was a big hit when it came out. The song called Darshana. Again, Darshana Rajendran, the actress, she plays the character called Darshana in this movie. So there's a song called Darshana as well, and that's the only song, I would say, where the actors are singing and dancing in the traditional sense of it. But the remaining 14 songs, they're kind of happening in the background. It's not that anyone's really singing it on screen and dancing it, So 15 songs is a movie, but just one song on screen where they're singing and dancing. Rest of the other songs, it's happening in the background, and songs have an important role in this movie. Like I said, this is a feel-good entertainer, and Vineeth Sreenivasan, like I said, he really knows how to make you feel good when you're watching this. And music plays a very important role in his movies. How he uses them, how he infuses them with certain scenes, and it really invokes a certain emotion in you when you're watching it. And he, like I said, he's got a good sense of music and how to use it. And it's really well put together, I would say. In terms of that, this movie is of course 2 hours 50 minutes long. Now, considering the fact that this movie is about the story of a man from his 18 to his early 30s, you need to, the movie needs to be a certain amount of time in order for you to feel like, okay, this character has gone through a lot. So when he finally gets to that point where he's a grown up, when he's taking mature decisions and things like that, it makes sense. So to a certain degree, I agree that this movie has to be long. And now, having said that, I still believe you can cut away at least 15 to 20 minutes from this movie, because there were a few scenes here and there where I just felt like, okay, they could have cut it off, because it doesn't really add that much to the story or to the character. I'll talk about it in the spoiler section, but just a few scenes here and there, I just felt like they could have cut it off. It needn't have to be, it didn't have to be 2 hours and 50 minutes long. But still, it's still a good watch. It doesn't really spoil your experience overall. A few nitpicks here and there I thought I'll share. As far as acting is concerned, everyone did a good job. That's the extent of it. I don't believe I I saw everyone act. At no point did I say, "Oh, this person was exceptional." Everyone's good. That's what I want to say about this movie and about this performance. This is mostly a Vineeth Sreenivasan movie. The credit really goes to the director. Like I said, this is a very a feel-good entertainer, and you do feel good at the end of it, because it's. If I were to use an example, I would say that imagine sitting across or sitting near a river bank. Okay, both of your feet are in the water. You're enjoying how cool it is, and there's a soft breeze from the side. You're feeling the breeze on your face, and ripples across the water. It's very quiet, it's very calm, it's very peaceful. Now if you're the kind of person who likes to sit like that and enjoy it, just like that, that's what this movie experience is about. It's just about sitting and enjoying it peacefully, quietly, because there's not a lot of twists and turns or a lot of noise happening on screen. It's very quiet and calm, and it's just going, and the movie is very straightforward. I even thought towards the end, will there be some kind of twist or turn or something extra? In fact, I thought maybe they could have done that, but it wasn't necessary again. But that's what you tend to think, the way it's going. But everything is very straightforward. What you see is what you get. Right from the start of the movie to the end, it's one smooth flow, just scene after scene, going straight forward, not a lot of complication or anything like that. So in that sense of the word, it's fine, it's good. And I like the movie, I certainly did. Now, having said that, that would be the non-spoiler version. Now let's go into the spoiler version of the movie. Alright, so if you don't want to hear any of the spoilers, then you can skip ahead to my final rating sections. Please look at the timing in the description. Having said that, let's begin with the spoilers. So first and foremost, right at the beginning, right, once Arun and Darshana, they tell that they like each other and they spend, I think, a night at a beach. It's all very cute, it's all very romantic, and then they have a breakup scene. Okay, so here's the thing about it. The breakup, I understand, part of the story, I get that. But how it was handled seemed a little juvenile to me. But on the other hand, again, I'm a little conflicted about this, because both these people are in their first year of engineering. They're about 18 years old. So to an extent, why that was kind of juvenile, I kind of understand it, because they're kids themselves. Having said that, how the scene was handled, the situation that led to the breakup, I felt it was a little convoluted and contrived. They could have made it a little more simpler, but then the breakup happened. So it happened the way it happened, it's fine. It happened. But again, I am a little conflicted about how it was handled. Moving forward, another thing was that they show that Darshana gets into a relationship with a very popular singer, someone who comes to their college, and he's singing quite well, and she likes the guy, she spends time with him. And another thing I didn't really find convincing, or I thought it was kind of unnecessary, was that person, I forgot the character's name, but what I noticed was that he's a player, right? He has a relationship with a bunch of other girls, and we see that scene where Darshana's in the restaurant and she sees that he gets messages from other women, especially someone who's married as well, and she slaps him, she walks out and everything. That whole entire scene, if you look at it, there's something very clunky about it. When I think back, was that scene really necessary? The whole point of it was to show that these people are moving on, or at least they want to make it seem to each other that they are moving on. It's fine, but the whole point about this boyfriend who's a kind of a creep, who's playing around with her, and of course Arun goes and beats him up. It felt very 80s and 90s kind of a thing, and overall, if you look at it, if they cut that entire part of the movie, it doesn't really make a difference, doesn't really affect the story of it all. And again, in the the second half of the movie, when Arun is left his college and he's working, again this character is introduced in a similar scene also, and again some girl he breaks up with her. Arun wants that girl through Kalyani's Nitya. That's the character, right? Kalyani Priyadarshini plays Nitya, so it's her cousin this time in the second half of the movie, and he wants her and she wants her cousin, and then the cousin finds out the same way in the same restaurant and she slaps him, and again he decides he wants revenge, so him and two of his friends come to Arun's flat to beat him up, and then he walks out, and it's supposed to be a funny scene, but again I just felt that, so if you cut out that scene in the first half of the movie and you cut out that scene in the second half, I think you can save around 10 to 15 minutes. There was no need for it. If you cut both scenes out, it doesn't affect the story in any way. Those are the two things I didn't really enjoy about it. I just felt it was unnecessary, and that's why I said in the first half of the review, a few things here and there you can cut it off. They could have saved 10 to 15 minutes, I think, because this movie is 2 hours 50 minutes long. So to an extent, like I said, you need to have length in a movie like this, especially if you're showing that your protagonist is growing, he's going through experiences that changes him. I understand that, but unnecessary scenes like this, they can be avoided. That's what I think. But then of course there are plenty of good things in the movie to talk about. These two things I just felt like they could have avoided. Now moving ahead, in the first half of the movie, Arun has this breakup and he gets very rebellious. He hangs out with the wrong crowd, and he goes and stays in a flat with a few of the wrong company, if you want to call it, right? A couple of guys, and they're drinking, they're smoking. What I really enjoyed about that scene was that when I was in college, let's just say that I've seen that group of friends who hangs out like that. No prejudice or judgment to anyone. It's just something I saw from my own life, that and the best thing about it is the way they picturized that entire sequence, and the song. Prithviraj sang a song over there. It goes da na 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 na. I like that song. It was the song was done well. The whole sequence over there with the flat and friends hanging out, they're selling all their books because they don't have enough money to buy booze. It was quite funny. It's quite interesting how they shot it, and I felt it was very authentic because, like I said, it's something from my own life. I saw it, and I'm seeing in this movie. So that was quite interesting. In the second half, I also liked Kalyani Priyadarshini's introduction into the movie. She's wearing a sort of a red dress and she runs in, and in the background you have the the Carnatic classical music, Nagumo, the song, and I thought the use of it was quite appropriate with how she entered the whole movie, right? Her character enters the movie, and of course Arun sees her and falls for her immediately, and just like in the first half, how he went and spoke to Darshana, he goes directly up to Nitya and he tells her that he likes her. So it was handled really well. It was picturized really well. The music is really a strong point. It's one of the things I mentioned, that Vineeth Sreenivasan really knows how to deliver a feel-good experience, and music plays a big part of that. How he infuses it in the background or within the scenes. It's kind of part of the storytelling process. And especially in this movie, 15 songs, okay, Darshana was of course a song and dance sequence, I get that, but the other 14 are mostly in the background, and it kind of makes sense how he infuses it and how he uses these songs to tell the story and move the narration forward. It's great. I really enjoyed that one. Another very interesting sequence I really enjoyed was when Darshana's marriage, right? She invites everyone for her wedding, and they go, of course, Arun, Neelakandan and Nitya, they get married, they have a child, and they're going on the train, right, back to Chennai for her wedding. As soon as he, gets to the railway station and he leaves, his friends comes to pick him up. So it's Arun, his wife, and they have the child and his friends with him, and they're walking. And as soon as they're walking towards the right, to Arun's right, he sees the ticket conductor who was there when he first boarded the train to Chennai. That is right at the introduction of the movie. We see Arun entering the train, and he does not have a confirmed ticket. He's on waiting list 57 or something, and he of course begs the ticket conductor to give him a seat on the train, and he shares his seat. That's how he meets his best friend, right? He shares the seat with another guy who's also going on to Chennai to join the engineering course. So that's the same ticket conductor guy. So in the second half of the movie, when he comes back for Darshana's wedding, comes back to Chennai, they they leave the train, and as they're walking by, he looks to his right and he sees the same ticket conductor, and the ticket conductor doesn't recognize him. Of course, it's been a long time, right? But he's sitting there. You can see him in the background talking to another guy saying, I'm tired of these students, they don't have confirmed tickets and they come in here and they create a ruckus about having waiting lists and being on the waiting list, and they need confirmed seats, etc. So he's sitting, he's talking over there. It's not a big thing, but I just thought it was quite nice how they pictured it. It gave a more authentic experience to it, because Arun comes out, he looks to his right and he almost smiles, like he remembers, oh, this guy is the same ticket conductor guy. And his wife asks him, right, Nitya, she asks him, who's that, and he's like, I've seen him somewhere, that's it, that's all he says. He doesn't say anything else, he smiles and he says, I've seen him somewhere. I thought it was quite nice, that little scene over there. Oh, I almost forgot. Before Darshana's wedding, of course, there is a whole sequence where Arun and Nitya is about to get married, and the previous night he invites all his friends to his apartment for a get-together. Darshana comes really late, and she walks into his room, and there she meets Ajuvargi's character called Jimmy, right? And they shake hands and they talk, and one of his friends brings all the clothes for the wedding. Nitya's clothes is there also. Some clothes she's wearing, I think it's a lehenga or something, and he carries and he puts it on the coat hanger over there. And then for a moment, Darshana is alone in the room because these two friends step out. Arun is outside, and she starts looking around. So the whole room, right? Arun's room is decorated for, of course, the wedding night that's going to happen the next day. So it's all decorated. There are photographs of him and Nitya on the table, and she looks at all of this and she suddenly realizes that that's it. This is the last night where Arun is just single. Tomorrow onwards he's married. He's a married man. He's going to start a family. So there is that moment where she's all looking around. The camera cuts to her face, a real good close up, and I got to say, at that moment, Darshana gives this very vulnerable, I wouldn't say scared, but more like she's confused, and all of this, the reality is sinking in at that point where she's looking around the room and she's understanding, right, Arun is getting married, and it's something good. And she looks at the iron box. So Jimmy was ironing something before he stepped out. So he kept the iron box over there, and she looks at the iron box. It's still hot, and then she looks at Nitya's dress. For a minute there, I thought, are they going that route? It would be a little cliched over there, because for Darshana to ruin Nitya's clothes, just in a moment. I just thought it seemed a little cliched. So they kept switching back and forth to the dress and to the iron box, and then Darshana's face, and I was like confused. Are they going to go that route? I thought that would be very cheesy. So I was a little worried about that, but thankfully they didn't go. And instead, Darshana just rushes out of the house and she goes downstairs. And of course, one of Arun's friends, he sees her leaving. So he follows her and he goes downstairs and he asks her what happened. And, and she tells him, it's the last night, Arun is getting married. And of course, it's all coming back to her. They had that big breakup, and Arun called her that night to apologize, and she didn't forgive him. So there's a part of her that feels guilty about it, that had I forgiven him, would they be together? In fact, there were a couple of scenes in the movie where she asked him that question: had I forgiven you, would we have been still together? Would we be still together now? There was that question over there, and it's very interesting, right? I mean, these are some of the things I thought that was really done well. Because we've all had that experience of points in our lives that we either made the wrong choice, and then years later we've looked back and we wondered, what if I had done this instead of this? What if I had forgiven? What if I had gone in that other direction? And you see those characters do that over here. So it makes a lot of sense. But that, I guess that's part of growing up, right? You make mistakes, you try to do better, and you learn from them, of course, and you move on. So that's exactly what they're doing in this movie. And now, finally, you come to, of course, and there's another interesting scene. All these engineering students, right at the end of the 4 years, right? The principal gives them a key to the room that says secret alley. So that room is where all of these kids, they put up some kind of memorabilia on the wall, their t-shirts, something, right? They put it up over the wall, a t-shirt, so they've written something over there. I thought that is a very cool scene what they have over there. They walk inside this room, it's a long corridor, and everyone has written something over there. All students, when they're done with their course in the final year, right before leaving, they put something down. So Arun and his final year, he all his batchmates and him, they entered the room, and everyone wrote something or left something behind over there, but Arun didn't do anything. He just watched his friends write something on the wall or things like that, but he didn't do anything, right? He just kept watching. So like in the ending, when they go to Chennai for Darshana's wedding, right, I think they get an information that their flight is delayed or something, and Arun passes by his college, and Nitya and his son's with him, right? Nitya tells him that she wants to do some shopping, so he says, go, carry on with your shopping. I'm going to get out of my college, I'm going to spend some time over there. They got some time, right? And he said, just come back and pick me up after you're done. And I thought that was one of the best things about the movie. The way it ended, it was very cathartic, right? There's an element of catharsis achieved at the end of it, where I'll get to it, right? So his wife drops him off, she goes for shopping and things like that, and he enters the college. Now, how that entire scene is shot is, it's shot from his back, and it's intercut. So at one scene, he's entering his college, then he's right about nearing the building, then he is entering the corridor towards his classroom, his first classroom, then his hostel. So it's all shown from right from his back, right? It shows right from his back. He's walking, so entering the college, cut. Then he's there. So it's like one entire continuous shot. Like he's walking, college, entrance of the college, corridor, classroom, hostel, mess. He's going all this, and it's like one entire shot moving with him. And I thought it was done really well. It was quite clever how they did that. And of course, he meets. There's a man over there who's vertically challenged, and he's the guy who's running the mess. So at one point, they had an altercation and they beat him up and everything. So years later, when he sees him, he very fondly calls him, and this guy also responds very fondly. And then he goes and sees his teachers. I thought that was done another part that was really well. You usually have these nostalgic moments with your friends. You go and visit places and things like that. But he goes and sees two of his teachers whose hair's starting to gray, and they look at him and say, "Oh, you have a beard now," and they kind of make fun of him. And so it's a sweet little encounter. And of course, he asks one of his teachers, "Can I have the room to the secret alley?" And she says, "I can, we only give that to students at the end of their final year. We don't want to change the rules. Maybe I don't know why she said that, because I think he was speaking to her right at the in the classroom, right? She came outside, but she was standing at the door, and he was speaking to her. Maybe the teacher said that so the other students wouldn't hear it. Something else. So she tells that. But then after some time, we see that he's sitting in the mess, he's having coffee, he's drinking something maybe, and he's sitting over there, and the vertically challenged man who runs the mess, and he comes to him and says, "Okay, the teacher has given me the key, you can go and check out the place." So I thought that was a good little scene, because initially his teacher rejects when he requests the key to the secret alley. But probably she did that because she was still, even though she was outside, she was standing close to the door, she was worried maybe the other students would hear. So of course, but then later on she gives the key to him. Now he goes to the secret alley, he opens the door, he again walks inside, he sees everything, and then on one part of it, he finally writes something down, because he didn't write anything down when he left the college, right? So he writes something over there, they don't show what it is, and then he's waiting at the gate of the college, his wife comes, she picks him up, he kisses his child, he kisses his wife, he's forever grateful, he gets in the car, and he goes away. And then finally the camera pans back, and it goes back to the secret alley, to the wall where he wrote, "Thank you for making me into who I am. Arun Neelakandan, 2006 to 2010. I thought it was a perfect way to end the movie. It was done really well. So that's the spoiler corner. Is there anything else? Final thought. Of course, there's a whole sequence with his friend also, Selva, who helps him, helps him study. He, like I said, he was hanging out in the background earlier on, and Selva, he meets a new friend. Selva helps him study, it improves his grades and everything, and then unfortunately Selva passes away. There's an accident in college and he passes away. Again, it shows a little bit of that growth, right? You go through certain experience in life that helps you grow, and that definitely, that's an experience that changes his life. You can see that he finds it himself to be responsible, like Selva was helping a bunch of students study, right? So when Selva passes away, Arun, along with other students, they also help another group of people or friends study, improve their marks and things like that. So I think that that kind of there was an emotional growth over there too, and he became a little more responsible. And I think it's sweet when Arun then has his child, right? He has a son. He names the child Selva in remembrance of his friends. So that's again sweet. I should have mentioned that. I forgot to mention it. But yeah, so overall, in the end, when you see that ball, thank you for making me into who I am today, right? When he writes that on the wall, it's quite sweet, it makes sense, so this is the college that gave him that growth, gave him all those experiences, and it has molded him into the man he is today. So it's very sweet the way in. So yeah, that's it for spoilers. So let's go into my final ratings. Alright, so here we go, the final ratings. First and foremost, when you think about the names Mohanlal, Priyadarshan, Sreenivasan, these are names that have delivered some of the biggest hits of Malayalam cinema. And beyond just hits, some of the scenes and some of the movies and some of the characters are so memorable. Myself and my generation of people, or maybe younger than that also, we grew up on them, we grew up watching them, we enjoyed their performance and things like that. So when you talk about the movie Hridayam, directed by Vineeth Sreenivasan, starring Pranav and Kalyani, etc., this is the next generation who's bringing a whole new brand or bunch of movies together. So what was the expectation over here? There was a certain expectation within the audience. Yes, it was mainly about Vineeth Sreenivasan coming back after quite a bit of period, since his last movie. So there was a little expectation over there, because Vineeth Sreenivasan has, like I said, there is a brand of movies that he's done. There's a certain amount of trust over there. But it wasn't just Vineeth Sreenivasan, of course. There was Pranav Mohanlal over there. There was Kalyani Priyadarshan over there. And their fathers have joined together and have given us quite a number of hits. So this new generation coming together, there was a certain amount of excitement to see what they're going to deliver, what that movie is going to be like, what that movie is going to be like. Now, having said that, did it deliver on that? I still think there is, they still need to do a little more work in terms of that, at least to the extent of what their fathers achieved in the movie, of course. But they're moving in the right direction. Obviously none of these actors or movie makers, they don't want to repeat what their parents did. They want to, of course, develop things on their own, develop brand on their own, and to a large extent Vineeth has established his own brand of movies, so there's nothing wrong with that. But in terms of movie, then if you have to give a final rating, what would it be like? So I rate this in the form of popcorns, and when I look at it, I rate this around 3.25. Yeah, 3.25 popcorns out of 5 popcorns. That's how I would rate it. It's good, but it's not the kind of movie that that you watch where you just sit down and watch for entertainment. Like if you sit down or if you go into the movie theater, it's something you're looking to really just relax and sort of entertain you. That's not where this is. Nothing wrong with the movie. It's a feel-good movie. There's a lot of nostalgia. There's a lot of good elements in it. But again, it's the movie where you need to have time on your own hand, because you need to really sit back and really take in the time to enjoy what's happening on screen, because it's a long movie, right? It shows growth of the protagonist. That's what it's about, the experience that he goes through. So in order to fully enjoy and understand and to experience it, you need time on your own hands. You need time and space in your own mind as well to sit back and watch it. I saw Hridayam when it came out on Disney plus Hotstar, right? And I saw it when I had time on my hands, really, because I really sat back, and thankfully I had of course I watched other reviews online, I read what's online, so I had a little bit of knowledge in terms of, but I purposefully kept away from all spoilers. I did not want that. But I had a certain expectation going in, that I knew that movie was going to be long. I knew it's about, a character's growth and journey. That's what the movie is about. So I had that frame of mind wherein I sat down and said, okay, I'm going to give myself this much time to sit back and really enjoy and take in what's going to happen in this movie. So to that extent, I was able to sit back. But if you're someone who expects, fast-paced entertainment, thrills, etc., then it's going to be a disappointment, because that's not what this movie is about. This is about something like you sit back, relax, laid back, and take your time and enjoy the small, subtle growth and changes and things like that. That's what this movie is about. And of course, there's nothing really original over here. Based on everything you've heard, even the first time when I told you what the story is about, it's easy enough to think back to a couple of other movies you've seen. It's easily, you can think of at least 5 movies on top of your head that are similar. But that's not really the point over here. Vineeth Sreenivasan has done has presented it with utmost honesty and sincerity, and as the title suggests, Hridayam, from his heart, Dil se, if you want to say it, really from his heart, and very true to the kind of movies that he makes, and he's presented it really well. So good work, good, lots of appreciation for the entire team for delivering a truly feel-good entertainer. So that's it. That's the extent of it. So that's my review of Hridayam. If you enjoyed it, then please do like this video, and of course subscribe and to stay notified. I'll be putting up more reviews about movies, about trailers, about books. I read a lot of books. I just about watch just about anything, TV series, etc., etc. So I hope to review all of that. I hope to share my thoughts and my experience with all of you, and I hope you can enjoy that as well. So thank you for watching. Take care and have a great life.